Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. ALTTP crowd. This is Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna, and we are here today with another wonderful race of Ambrosia style with Marty and the Blackwax. I've also got my co-commentator here, who I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm just going to call him E. How you doing, E?
Yuda or Yuda is fine. I'm doing great. Really excited about week 2 here. Ambrosia. Little brief, tiny little tidbit of knowledge about that, or I guess maybe a bit of trivia. Apparently, it's supposed to literally mean the food of the gods, and I've been trying to figure out all week what exactly that's supposed to mean entirely. Are we referring to the fact that we have, a boots hint? Are we referring to the item always being on the boss? An enigma to me.
I'd also like to think it's that wonderfully fruity side dish that tastes like yogurt.
That's a possibility as well. Why that pertains to A Link to the Past Randomizer, I have no clue, but somebody was thinking about something, potentially that yogurt, when they came up with this game type.
It might just be what they were munching on at the time, but hey, I mean, it's better than, say, California roll type.
Yeah, I hear they're better having those sushi rolls with tuna in them, but maybe you can speak more to that. That might be more of your brand than mine.
Hey, tunas can definitely be, well, they eat everything.
Well, it could even refer to the guaranteed, that's right, assured sword that we will have in this seed. Being a standard open for the seed, we will also be able to use that as soon as we actually get past the uncle. But we find out our boots are going to be in Ganon's tower today.
Well, someone's not getting boots.
Very first item of the game that we actually acquire, not just the hint, but it'll be 20 rupees, so a little bit more cash to work with when we progress. We find a pendant at Eastern Palace, the vanilla one, green at that.
But 2 crystals for the other 2? That's not bad.
Yeah, while it can be a little bit annoying to make your way into Desert Palace, just trying to find a way to get it in terms of items, there's only, 4 of them give you that possibility. That is a much easier dungeon to complete. Tower of Hera, we're going to have some opportunity to get up there.
And good news is that since we know Desert is a crystal and we got that hint about the boots being in Ganon's tower, we know for a fact that Desert's not going to be bootlocked.
Yeah, so hopefully nobody will even bother to check that torch room. Hammer being here in the front part of Escape over by the uncle, a great weapon to work with, and looks like Marty already found a bomb drop, which you need at least 1 in order to fully complete this.
See, that right there is the Ambrosia, the nectar of the gods. Early bomb drop.
Yeah, prize packs working out in our runner's favor. This, of course, being the match between Missing Bow and A Link to the West Coast. Scruff already introduced these two, Marty and Blackwax. Marty's looking to get the first win for his team so far here in the Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 2. Blackwax looking to extend to 2-1, I believe, or maybe 2-2. I haven't checked the rest of their team.
Yeah, that's a good thing to look into. I'll do that real quick when I'm done eating my fellow tunas.
Oh, I really thought you were about to say Ambrosia.
Yeah, it would have been good, actually.
Well, perhaps they're one and the same. I can't speak to everybody's food preferences, but these two runners looking to find the goods here in this seed, starting off with the escape sequence, and thanks to some mishaps with a blue guard here, they're actually frame for frame right now.
You gotta love it when they sync up like that.
I'm actually a little surprised to see them relying so much on the hammer when sword spins strats are actually, in my opinion, a little bit quicker, thanks to the way that you can manipulate these guards. They might be things that these two haven't practiced as much. It will save time, though, here against the ball and chain guard.
I'm always keen on just throwing pots at the guy.
It's a valid strategy. They give you 3 in this room to kill every enemy that's in it. But looks like both of these two are going to go after hammer strikes today, unless Blackwax goes for a hybrid strat.
Ooh, we might. Oh, and it looks like I got some information on let's see, the Dark World Conference. Yeah, here we go. It does look like... Oh, shoot, I just lost it. Oh, nope, there it is again. Alright, so yeah, Link to the West Coast is currently sitting at a 1-win, 1-loss so far. Missing Bo with the 2-loss. So this is the first game of the week for both of these teams. So yeah, if Marty can go ahead and pull off a win from here, it'll go ahead and time up.
Yeah, and of course, while we have a moment of these two racers kind of going through some backtracking of the escape sequence, kind of a great opportunity to briefly highlight how this Link to the Past Randomizer League format works. They are teams of 3, if you've never tuned in to see any of these races. Each selects 2 representatives per week to do a race against the other team. And then we have 7 different weeks of different settings. First week was open 7-7. This is Ambrosia defeat Ganon. With some crazy variants up ahead of us in the weeks to come, including some co-op formats, which will be very interesting to see. So if you haven't had an opportunity to catch much of this, stay tuned. There's a lot of really awesome Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 2 action ahead of us.
Oh, definitely. Next week is one thing I'm looking forward to. It's one of my favorites just because I love the silliness that can occur. Randomizer is going to be great.
Who doesn't love 20-eyed Moldorm?
Exactly! The public needs to see Helmicopter. It needs to happen.
You know, I mean, the more of it, the better I think things go overall. But here in the escape sequence, both of our runners pretty well supplied right now, actually. Blackwax just hitting 10th bomb, as Marty actually skipped one on the way out, looking to save a little bit of time over Blackwax and total execution here. 7 is more than enough to do all the Kakariko sequence, and buy more bombs or find more bombs if you need to. So I don't blame him for that choice.
Yeah, as far as the Kakariko escape, or the castle escape goes, they're doing quite well. We're getting at just about 5:25 when they're hitting the back. Anytime you're at least at 6 minutes, that's good. If you can make it a sub-6 escape sequence, then that's just awesome.
Yeah, there is a little bit of difference between how it works, say, in the MMG split, where you have to mash a bunch of text. We're finding some, and then it ends up kind of counterbalancing with this check. We do find literacy and a fire rod, so our Book of Medora allowing us to read highly and will give us 3 potential item locations. It also allows us to get into desert and complete it with that fire rod.
Yep, so that's 1 crystal almost out of the way. We just need to find those lifty bits, and we'll be good.
Oh, that's a good point. You do need the power glove to get to finish the back half of that dungeon. Good reminder.
Yeah, sadly they did not incorporate telekinesis into this game yet.
However, we could end up not having that glove for quite a while if we do want to finish desert. You know, you can use a mirror. Or no, you would have to have a Titan Smith. Never mind, ignore me. But we will head west of the Sanctuary to do all of the overworld stuff. Knowing that Boots is in Ganon's Tower, I actually don't expect either of these two to be checking the Lumberjack.
Yeah, only thing that would be useful at that point would just be convenience. So half magic, silver arrows, a sword.
And we find out our tier 1 tree pull is bombs, so a lot of the bomb farming we did not necessary. We do have a 20 rupee hoarder crab though, and that's something that we can farm several times in our overworld routing.
Now, I always like to call the one that gives the single rupees Mr. Krabs, because he's super stingy. But
you just kind of hear him in the distance. Arr, 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 arr.
Exactly.
Interesting choice from Blackwax to check the ledge. Now, if it were a sword, that may actually, potentially matter. It could be so difficult to find the 2 excess swords otherwise, then that might even be a sword you consider if it was there. But no, it's just going to be rupees today.
Yeah, very true. If it's a situation where they forced you to do AGA 1, then that may be something to look forward to, especially if you get all the way to GT with 1 sword.
And apparently, I missed Marty checking that as well, so yeah, both of them taking the time to do so. Not going to be a net time loss, but certainly a bit of one of those Ambrosia mode head scratchers.
That's alright, they'll both figure out that they're playing Ambrosia the moment they get into a dungeon and figure out, wait, I found one item. Where's the other one? Oh, right.
Yeah, so that's one big hallmark of this game type, is that dungeons that don't have a lot of items really make it more incentivized to run straight to the boss. Every dungeon will have an item behind the boss, and that is not a key or a compass or, a map or anything like that. So dungeons like Skull Woods and Misery Mire become a little more straightforward, although sometimes you spend just as much time there anyway. That's our first bow here in the Thieves' Hideout. We did also have a bottle in the forest, so Kakariko exploration should be complete here.
Always a good thing. Oh, and hey, there's our gloves, so desert's definitely completable at this point.
Lamola's sweating.
It's alright, he knows that they've only got a bow and a hammer for a weapon. He's okay.
Oh no, he's sweating. He's gonna burn with that fire rod.
Oh, yep.
So with all the weapon choices available to us, I mean, this is a very offensive seed so far.
Pretty dang nice, I'd have to say. Better than rolling around with nothing but a can of Burna.
And perhaps the ambrosia being sacrificed to these rando gods at least shown some favor to us, because not having those boots, definitely going to be painful. At least you get something for your trouble here.
Well, the good news is that each runner knows the other is not going to get it anytime soon, if at all. So it's going to make them pretty equal.
Well, a slight lead in terms of clearing out the town so far for Marty, who is a little bit lower on rupee count thanks to Blackwax farming a little bit extra. The thing is we might not find like many other rupees before we get the chance to do South Shore. Marty should be able to farm the Hoarder Crab, but it can be forgotten.
Nice thing about the setup they've currently got now, item-wise, Zora is in logic, so even if they decide to go ahead and fake Flipper, that's not going to put them out of sequence. I mean, they will for Hobo, but Zora, not going to be a problem.
Yeah, so that's good news for both of them if they're worried about what their opponent might do. It's a little more straightforward to decide to, head up that way, particularly with all this cash. Alright, so the library here, something that is guaranteed to not be required for the Crystal Dungeons. We're going to check it anyway here for Marty, which should just be 10 arrows for us. But for all we know, it could have been a safety that you'd care about, say like another sword. And if it were, that'd be something you want to know.
Yeah, looks like May's game was a whole bunch of nothing.
Well, save a quit from Marty. We'll get to see Marty's dilemma firsthand before Blackwax here, as to whether or not you end up heading towards desert with the equipment that we have.
Yeah, I'd say the smart play right now would be to check the dam and the sunken item, and then just book it right over to desert.
But it could be just as valid to head east. I guess it depends on what we find here in the dam. Desert, not a ton of items. You just know that you can do everything there.
Yeah, I'd say that Blackwax is taking a bit of a gamble going down here. Yeah, it's a green pendant, so you're getting 7 items altogether. So it's going to give you a decent amount of stuff, but is it going to be worth it?
Now, the nice thing for Blackwax here is that with that fire rod, technically you can make it to the boss, which will have an item in Eastern Palace. And even if you can't do that with the fire rod, you still have, darkroom navigation and the bow to get you there. So definitely something that you can do. I don't see a reason why this would be strictly a bad play. Although, it's definitely a more fringe choice than following the items that you currently have.
Oh yeah, I mean, not a bad gamble, just a gamble. Because 7 items are good, especially early on. But yeah, for a green pendant, this early in the game, it is a gamble.
We're going to get some bomb strats here in the mini Moldorm Cave. Marty did not take the temptation of Desert Palace. Unfortunately, a couple of bomb kills here not pulling off, but we will be able to use sword spins to safely dispatch with them. That will give us 5 checks here.
And there's a 20 rupee for, well, that's definitely enough for Zora. So that won't be a problem in routing.
The cave otherwise coming up as a dud, having an opportunity to head further east if Marty wishes to. I would think that you're probably grabbing the Zora stuff if you continue east, so Marty's going to hold off on all of that and leave Ice Rod Cave for later.
Smart idea. Honestly, the best thing to do when it comes to the water checks is to wait until you've either got the Moon Pearl, the boots, or, flippers. So that way it's within sequence. You really don't want to sit and orphan the waterfall fairy. It's just a bad move.
Yeah, it's kind of a pain to get back to, and if there's a mirror involved in any of that chain, it's very unlikely that you would pair it with something else. Ooh, Marty in trouble here. Have just half a heart to work with. Gotta watch out for these jazz hands.
Whoops! Now, thankfully, we did get a brief glimpse at the item. It was just 20 bucks on the desert ledge, so not important there. But we still have Agina's cave and the two in the desert.
Yeah, so this might be an opportunity for Marty to consider a different route, but we'll actually double down on it and head all the way out there. Completable, totally understand. Some runners out there choose to change their route here, and I think this kind of speaks to Marty's commitment to trying to finish the plays that he's making.
Now, from what I've been seeing lately with how these seeds have been kind to most runners, I think this is actually going to be putting Marty in a much better light for progression. Seeing as how we can clear it, it's a crystal dungeon, and the game is kind of pushing us this way. There's not a whole lot of other things to check aside from Eastern.
And outside of Kakariko, really, we're just finding tons of cash everywhere. Another 300 dropping in the World of Hyrule from Blackwax's side here in Eastern Palace. So we're just replete with cash. Both of these two set for the entire seed.
Oh, most definitely. Unfortunately, I get the inkling feeling here, especially with all that cash that we're finding, that Zora is going to have some form of progression.
Yeah, we do still have a few more outs, but it's starting to narrow a bit as Blackwax's perspective narrows, lacking light. We'll be heading through the dark section here of Eastern Palace to head to the Vanilla Big Key chest, which with a Popo skip, hopefully, with 3.5 hearts to work with. Otherwise, it'll take a little bit longer in that room. That will just leave us Armos, unless this was the big key. I didn't keep good track of him in this dungeon.
I did not either, but we're about to find out, thankfully. Ooh. Okay, so Titan's Mitts are lamp locked, so that is an out-of-sequence Dark World check, or availability, I should say. So once Blackwax finds the Moon Pearl, he's going to be set. But the way things are set, logically, they could actually have you go and defeat Armos first, just to get something to lead you to a lamp. That could be interesting.
Yeah, something that's specific to version 31 that we didn't see before is the fact that rooms that you have a fire rod torch for, or I guess a torch that you can light up with a fire rod, are considered means of accessing when you don't have a lamp. So Blackwax is doing something here that is actually in logic, despite those Titan's Mitts having not been.
And thankfully for Marty, he is remembering that this is indeed Ambrosia. Since he's already got the small key, the big key, and one item, he's not going to bother checking the other two places. So that's going to be the map and the compass.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing time save in this dungeon. Of course, may have been able to kind of scout that from afar, realize the situation before even walking in because of Ambrosia. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of walk time that you cut out of this dungeon.
Which I gotta say is one of the best parts of Ambrosia, is the fact that you can go ahead and route a whole heck of a lot easier, knowing full well that one of the items is going to be on the boss.
Speaking of bosses and items that are behind them, Blackwax here setting up for hopefully a fast kill of Armos. Looking for a slightly slower strat, but a very safe one, which, given the arrow count and health to work with, certainly a solid strategy. And that's a Moon Pearl!
Wow, okay, so 2 required items in a pendant dungeon. That was the correct play to make.
And that is Dark World access as well. Blackwax with a whole lot of Dark World available to him now.
Yeah, those Titan's Mitts really open up a lot. Hammer is going to help with some convenience, but man, oh man, he is just gonna be able to book it.
So the question in my eyes is, are we about to find the lamp here on Lamolus?
That would be pretty funny.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Lamp Molus.
It's Land, Mo, Curly, and the third one.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Oof, Marty's gotta be real careful though, because, yeah, those are gonna hurt. Get out the arrow and go in MG style, my friend.
That's an interesting choice, because this is certainly not an easy fight even with the bow. Although I would say it's probably safer than with the hammer. Oh, I'm feeling real nervous about these setups.
Yeah, that beeping's not too good.
Yeah. Marty over here being just an absolute mad lad.
Ooh.
No.
That's alright. Thankfully, he gets to start right here.
So Marty will bail from that, and I don't blame him for that. Now, the interesting thing that's, in this situation for Marty is we're kind of running out of normal checks to do in the world that aren't Eastern for him. And being that, he doesn't have a lamp yet, might be thinking, hey, if it's not lamp in this, Agina's cave, it's probably on Lamolus, and might make decisions around that.
Yep. So it's safe to assume that Lamp is more than likely going to be on Landmo. That or on Zora, because everything else is pointing us towards Eastern. So Marty is most likely thinking that same thing.
Now, if we see Marty head towards the South Shore right here to do a fake flipper, then we would think that he's going to check Zora for it. So at this point, it seems like Marty is committing to the denser item checks, which, as we know now, is definitely a wiser choice. Now, it remains to be seen whether or not Marty does all of the collection here, as we still don't have a lamp. But should know that the Armos Knights at minimum is accessible.
Yeah, thankfully I know that Marty can access that dark room quite easily, so it's not going to be a problem with just 4 hearts.
Yeah, that'll bode well for Marty, because that's really what's needed to stay as close as possible to Blackwax here. We won't have the boots to try and make the back half of Desert faster. Now, the one thing that could work for Marty here is if Blackwax forgets that there's an item on Lamolus, and if he goes all the way to the right side, that'd be quite a time save for him. Alright, so Marty's going to get bailed out a little bit by Blackwax kind of checking this dungeon a little bit differently.
Well, they have the big key on the right side over here, but if he decides to go ahead and forget that there's an item on Landmo and not, on the torch or in the big chest, that's where the time save is going to be.
Alright, Marty's heading into Eastern Palace now to pick up presumably the Titan's Mitts, but certainly at least the Moon Pearl. Not exactly a ton of magic to pick up in this dungeon. The Stalfos room, kind of like Marty's only opportunity if he wants to see in the dark. I think that he has one shot right now.
Now, thankfully, I believe one of the prize packs was actually the magic refill, so as long as he kills some stuff, he should be good.
A brief note on that for those out there who don't keep up with the patch notes for each individual version. Version 31 reintroduces vanilla prize packs, which before were just completely jumbled up in the randomizer. So it's all the same prize packs from the vanilla game, but the enemies corresponding to them are shuffled together. So you kind of have to kill enemies to discover what they're going to drop, and then you can kind of use that information to reliably refill where you need to.
Alright, Blackwax is going to go ahead and finish up this desert run for us here. Did skip both the big chest and the torch, so we don't have to worry about him forgetting this is Ambrosia.
Yeah, so that represents a time loss total for Marty here, who will have to redouble to finish Landmolus, although I think at this point may opt to do so as late as possible.
True, if he lucks out and that Misery Mire's also a crystal, he can just do a 1-2 punch once he's able to go mode it.
At which point it just becomes the time that you spend walking to the back, which, given the course of an entire seed, could potentially be, within good reason to be able to catch up with. It looks like Blackwax holding on to magic gonna pay off here.
Oh, those 2 land modes not being very nice.
Yeah, I'm surprised he was able to get the second worm with that. That was actually a pretty difficult shot to make.
Marty's gonna have to be careful in this next room, though. 3 hearts down, he can only get 1 shot to get the pot correct. He can go ahead and get the 2 refill hearts underneath the 2 pots down here, but... yep, that's what he's gonna do first. Smart move.
Ooh, boy. Did you catch the Lamolus item?
Oh, shoot, no, I looked away at the wrong time. Was that lamp?
Oh, it was Bug Net, okay.
Oh, good. Whew.
I was just like so focused on like this big key skip. I think it's really bold of Marty to go in here in the dark with just 1 heart to work with.
Oh, yeah. Gotta say, this is pretty ballsy.
Now, an alternative thing that you can do, he may not have realized in the situation, but there is a pot you can jump into just outside that door that has 2 fairies. Even without the bug net that he may have had an opportunity for with Desert, you could still at least get the refill. Unfortunately, would not help you with magic.
Uh-oh. Marty is ignoring that boss.
Well, the good news for Marty here is that we'll not have a choice to end up going there at one point or the other. Without the Moon Pearl, we can only exhaust so many checks here in the mountain. Although, we could happen to find like a mirror or a hook shot that can keep us moving.
And as far as the map check goes, we did indeed see a Thief's Town and Turtle Rock as the 5-6 crystals, with Swamp and Pod as our other 2. Ooh, and Hype Cave actually giving us a sword, so somewhat hype. Not bad.
The bad news for Marty in all of this, though, is that if Palace of Darkness is a pendant, you said?
Yep, Palace of Darkness is indeed a pendant.
Then there will probably not be a natural opportunity for Marty to be mirroring back from there to Eastern Palace. So you kind of want to find a flute here pretty quickly, as that will make a lot of the more painful rechecks a little bit easier to manage.
Well, good news is that we know he is going to have to go back there at some point, because you kind of need the Moon Pearl to finish the game. Unfortunately for him, it's going to be the point where he bottlenecks, but at least he'll get there. Eventually.
Goodness gracious, this game has it out for Marty today. Getting cabbaged beyond the point of death at this point, because he's no longer on the mountain, but we'll end up respawning there. Taking wisely the extra 5th heart, because you never know what kind of RNG you're going to deal with.
Well, yeah, gotta be careful of those falling cabbages.
Well, Blackwax continues the Southern Dark World campaign, going all the way through the dig game, getting just 10 arrows. We'll be heading north to the village of Outcasts. Has quite a few options available to him. A very likely Thieves Town, at least check, probably clear.
Well, definitely would be a good thing. Not only can you go ahead and clear out the full entire Smith chain, ooh, that was our 3rd sword up inside Spectacle Rock, so we're at Tempered already. That is good for our troops here. Back to the routing. Since he's got Hammer, Titan's Mitts, Fire Rod, he can practically clear all of the Western Dark World. No problem.
Getting a handy refill of health here in the C-shaped house as we see Marty pick up that 2nd sword for him, 3rd that we've seen total. Blackwax with plenty of equipment to work with will probably just try to be a little bit more exhaustive on the way in, since we have an opportunity to route all of this in one fell swoop. I'm actually a little surprised to see him not check the hammer pegs, as that is accessible as well. Maybe thinking to do that when he does the entire smith chain.
That might be a good idea, actually. Anytime you try and do the mirrors, or the smith chain without mirror, it's just a nuisance. Ooh, I think that was the hook shot.
Tell you what, that's one way we can pull ourselves out of needing that mirror sooner. Extending further across the mountain, actually, than trying to hop across both worlds. So Blackwax going to take that good B and presumably go do the thing I was just talking about.
Very, very good.
But then again, my presumptions are presumptuous, so he will actually end up buying a red potion. Which, while that's very expensive, it's much more accessible since we don't have the flute and any better place to buy one from right now.
And we're finally getting a check into Ice Rod Cave. Let's see if the gods will smile on us and give us the lamp here.
This, in my ambrosia seed, here in Ice Rod Cave, will be simply explosives.
Hey, that's better. Better for Marty. I'm hoping at this point that Zora is indeed the lamp, just so that way he can be like, okay, go kill Armos, and not think, oh, go kill Aga.
Yeah, the other side of that as well is once Marty does get a boss refill, it'll make Lammolis considerably easier as well if he were to find, say, a lamp, because then you're not spending nearly as much magic on the torches right before the fight. So that's one aspect that could actually work to Marty's advantage here.
Very, very true.
I'm not certain if we saw Lake Hylia Island check from either runner. Marty not stopping to do so right now, so maybe he checked that out on the way to Eastern.
I don't believe we've seen it yet.
Getting to see my favorite bunny sprite in the game, little Luigi there over here on Blackwax's side. Probably missed it already by now. Little Mario Brothers 1 pixel art. I actually use this sprite myself when I play, so it's kind of fun to watch.
I do gotta give shoutouts to the sprite designers, because that looks exactly like the sprite from Mario and Luigi Superstar.
Which I'm presuming it's actually based on. Gotta see another little tiny little bit of tech that's really interesting from Blackwax here. Grabbing the hearts on the ground with the hook shot or the boomerang can actually sometimes double heal you based on a frame rule. So going for a little bit of extra health here. I like that play.
Definitely wise when you're green male and less than 8 hearts.
Alright, so you gotta think Marty in this situation. I mean, what are you expecting to find here on Zora? Is it the Moon Pearl? Is it Lamp? I mean, his mind's gotta be racing right now with what he's left behind and what he's got in front of him.
Well, truthfully, it could be something as silly as flute.
Yeah, it remains to be seen, as the items that we have found where they've been in logic, for the most part, have given us a lot to begin with in the first place. So Marty here going to get more blue things.
Yeah, so
not hoping for them.
Those Titan Smiths are way out of logic right now, especially since the lamp is in Thieves Town.
So an interesting scenario here. We were expected, because that hookshot was in Village of Outcasts, so we got the hammer. We were supposed to use that glove, hammer, and then Moon Pearl to get to here to head back to Eastern.
Yepers. Oof, Marty heading back to Desert instead of going to Armos. Gonna be a little sad that he only gets rewarded with the swag net.
Well, it looks like Marty's heading back towards Lammolis, this time fully equipped with arrows, but not a ton of magic to work with. And there's not going to be a good opportunity to refill magic in here, so at best, he's going to be able to at least hit the torches if he knows where a second magic drop is. I'm actually kind of concerned on that front. Oh, you know what? He won't even need to hit the torches because he's already opened the door.
So yeah, as long as he's got his heart health going, we should be good.
More attempts at double hookshotting health here from Blackwax and Thieves Town. Almost done with the dungeon. Still has potentially the big chest to open. I think we have an item on the boss, so we may just be missing one more, if that's the case. This should be map. The last remaining item, of course, has to be on blind, so Blackwax about to find some more information whether or not it's useful. But we'll emerge from this fight with another crystal. We'll be up 2-0 on Marty so far in this seed.
Yep, definitely a good idea to remember what mode you're playing, so that way you don't accidentally goof.
Alright, a slight bit of weirdness in the first part of the blind fight so far. Blackwax setting up for what looks to be a pretty safe phase 3. Blind didn't cross over, so that's a good sign for keeping this manageable. Gonna have to watch out. Direct collision would have been a death there. Blackwax will emerge from the fight victorious with 2 hearts remaining. A piece of heart not going to heal him here, but probably a breath of relief either way.
Now, Fighter Sword is going to make it a little bit easier there. Landmo apparently has this wonderful bit of coding where Fighter Sword technically is a little bit faster than Master Sword, but if you use spin slashes, that will actually do a bit more damage.
Yeah, the one downside to it is you do have a longer, I guess, downtime after the spin compared to a slash. Same amount of knockback, roughly. But just having to recoil and not be able to, start slashing again immediately. So you see people with difference of opinion on that, but you're right about the damage being kind of strange. One thing that a lot of people got to remember is that this game does not have consistencies across all enemies and across all weapons.
Speaking of consistencies, we're about to go into the one dungeon that is riddled with inconsistencies. Hello, Skullwoods.
Something of a trap. Thankfully in Ambrosia, I didn't even know you could go across the right side of that wall. In Ambrosia, this dungeon is both awesome and terrible. Routing it's so annoying to begin with, but you only got to find one item, and sometimes it just makes that item feel even more elusive. There is, of course, a possibility that both items are in the back, so that's another thing to kind of consider. Well, as Blackwax makes his way to the back of Skull Woods, opting to use an ether for these Gibdos, a rarely seen strat, which actually nukes them entirely. I didn't know that. Marty will be returning to Eastern Palace to get that Moon Pearl.
You know why ether works on Gibdos, right?
Nope.
Because it's a mummy medallion.
I'm shocked, truly. Well, Blackwax looking for a flash in the pan, returned to the dungeon entrance from that floor master, not getting any help, really. But we'll take the time to grab a little bit of extra magic, which is actually really smart, considering he only has 3 hearts and a red potion to work with here for Mothia.
Yeah, Mothula is one of those bosses that I really don't want to tangle with unless I've either got blue mail or more than 7 hearts.
Hey, but major props to Blackwax for having the stones, so to speak, to go after this. We'll be using some magic as well in the Gibdo hallway. There's some options that you have available to you, but since he hasn't been up to the mountain, doesn't have the green potion that Marty had. Speaking of Marty, using the fire rod to ensure that those Gorias are killed very efficiently, has the opportunity to pick up that key and head towards Armos. Hey, check it out. Everyone's favorite medallion usage that I learned just today. Blackwax put it on display. I really like the choice to use the lamp here.
Definitely wise idea to use the lamp versus the fire rod in this case. You want to save as much magic as you can.
Well, Marty here is taking on Armos Knights. Blackwax kind of having to deal with the being bunny beam turning into a bit of a bullet hell in there. Fight getting a little bit away from Marty here, but has plenty of arrows to work with. Should be able to get the last Armos without too much trouble.
Doesn't give us any rage slashes though. I'm somewhat disappointed.
Considering the kind of trials and tribulations of this early race for Marty, I'm surprised there wasn't much of a reaction, slashes or anything else. So looks like he's still got his head straight. Something I commend him for, considering the early circumstances of this seed.
I will say this though, I speak for everyone when I say that we are glad that Marty's mic is muted, because we'd be hearing some very choice language right about now.
Yeah, it'd be hard to fathom anybody being content in this scenario, but maybe Blackwax is, having nuked Mothula off the face of the wall, or the conveyor, or the spike, all of the above, has completely destroyed this boss. So Blackwax, I don't know if he actually found the other item in Skullwoods. If he did, then he's got everything.
Yeah, I was too busy making terrible puns to pay attention to that, but I think from him saving and quitting, yeah, that might be the case.
And that's great for Blackwax, because any more time spent in Skullwoods is pretty much wasted. It stings to have to spend a ton of time trying to find just one thing.
Oh yeah, last locationing something is not nice. It's just kind of a blow to the heart.
Alright, now it's Marty's time to shine here in the Dark World, antithetically. We'll be checking his map for the first time, finding out that everything in the neighborhood is pretty much a crystal. And accessible, completable, has some choices to make, is really taking this one in. Meanwhile, some sword beam strats for Blackwax, hitting Mini Moldarm Cave 41 minutes into the race. Sounds kind of silly, but I mean, there wasn't anything of value in here, so turns out Blackwax making some great routing decisions so far.
I mean, not now, since he's actually checking it, but yeah, good for early.
You know, though, I think the ability to do with sword beams, you know, feeling more comfortable with what you have accessible to you, I definitely still think this is a good, you know, even now, it's a great check.
Very true, very true.
And having these sword beams is really nice here in the overworld. A lot of enemies that are hard to kill or will damage you on contact become quite trivial.
Why bother killing something at close range when you can just shoot it from a distance? Pew!
Pew 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 pew. Crab be gone. But that will be Blackwax checking the Ice Rod Cave as we see Marty attempting to grab the big chest here with the bomb jump. A pretty difficult bomb jump to do without boots, in my opinion. Although kind of automatic for a lot of folks who practice it. Because, you know, I mean, you just got to be a 2-pixel gap from the ledge, or space from the ledge, in order for it to work when you don't have boots. Getting on the second try, Marty trying it from the left. Finding the compass, but we'll take a death warp to get back to the door.
Now it's time for Blackwax to make the decision to check out Zora or go to Ice Palace.
Yeah, when you put it that way, so ominously.
It's Ice Palace, no one wants to do it.
As the fake flipper thinks about it. Alright, I think this looks like heading to Zora. Okay, good. I was a little nervous for Blackwax there. He's made some pretty aggressive execution choices so far in this seed. Things that, you know, yeah, you expect people in the past Randomizer League to be able to do some of it, but certainly not fun or easy scenarios either way.
And since he's got the moon pearl, we're gonna see what's in the waterfall. Unfortunately, it's just a lot of blueberries, so Marty not missing out on much.
Apparently, the waterfall fairy had some kind of plot planned against the Zora kingdom because all those explosives just outside of the river. You'd think like we're trying to make some kind of like artificial dam or something.
Oh no 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 no! She was collecting bombs to free the other fairy.
Okay, okay. There's a whirlpool passage to get there. That makes sense. The advantage, of course, of being able to water walk here, Blackwax able to walk directly to Zora, and find out, of course, that nothing in this area is good. It all comes with fuses and nothing more than that. Marty finding the
Ooh.
other item, which is silvers, actually, here in Skullwoods.
Oh no! Blackwax missed that. Oh no!
Well, so there are, of course, implications for the Ganon fight, and what we know so far is that there is a logical tempered already available to us. So there's a good chance that Blackwax will be in good shape from that. The difference, though, difference maker potentially is what weapons we'll have for certain bosses. Vitreous, for example, might be kind of difficult to do with the Master Sword if we don't have that tempered by then. You know, hopefully we don't have to kill Argus, but if we did, Silvers might be useful. Fire Rod's pretty good, honestly. I don't think it's going to be the worst thing for Blackwax, but it is a time save for Marty for sure.
However, hugging that Gibdo, unfortunately, was not. He's gonna head back and... Oh, wait. I think he's gonna forego it for now. Alright, not a terrible decision, because, yeah, you need the extra health to really get back there, and 5 hearts is a pain.
Well, that's really bad news for Marty. A third death of the seed really extending Blackwax's lead here. Blackwax is currently 3 crystals done with his progression so far, and is kind of taking safety decisions right now, looking to actually capture a fairy, I believe. Oh, can't actually capture a fairy unless he wants to waste the 150 rupees he spent.
May not be worth it. He's got at least 8 hearts, and as long as he plays it safe, he can go ahead and use that red potion efficiently.
Yeah, this is pretty clearly a sign he's knocking on the doorstep of Ice Palace, so yet another really difficult decision to make. This isn't completely impossible to do with the equipment that he's got, and he's well prepared as best as he can be. It's just something that a lot of people by nature will avoid.
Yeah, Ice Palace is not fun. I was kidding earlier about being all monotonous and evil, but yeah, Ice Palace, it's just terrible.
Well, Blackwax here about to take on the Pen Gators, the first ice hockey team of the dungeon. Pausing for a line change, apparently. These Pen Gators have been working on the body checking technique, but I don't think that they're actually going to take anybody out of the game with that. They lost that fight, and looks like they're going to be in the pen for 5.
They need to go ahead and talk to their Canadian brethren and get some, tips.
We have a team here in the league, Les French Canadiens, or something like that. I don't know. I butchered on purpose to be as American as possible. Alright, that's a hook shot for Marty, so more information being found, kind of realizing what the seed has presented an opportunity for his opponent at this point, I think. So, as we've talked about, I'm sure Marty feels very behind at this point.
Good news from Marty, though, there wasn't any progression on the big Mothman himself, so he doesn't have to worry about getting, well, a PG version of yeah. My brain is farting too bad right now.
That's okay, that's okay. It's better than me continuing this hockey metaphor.
I think this is the problem when I'm trying to, be respectful and PG and not just have foot and mouth syndrome.
Well, a big credit to Marty for facing adversity here, because I mean, once you start getting into what we like to kind of call a death loop, and this dungeon actually is a notorious, you know, example of it. Thankfully, he hasn't had any issues here yet, but when you get into a death loop in general in this game, it's very hard to escape it. You start, you know, kind of having less to work with. You have less ability to kind of, you know, bounce back from it. Blackwax actually in a pretty dangerous position right now, not opting to use his potion to try and preserve that Ice Palace bomb jump. So we'll likely be clearing out pretty much everything in here, the intended order.
Now, the good news is that since this is Ambrosia, we don't have to worry about Ice Palace being Candace Maria blocked. It will, of course, can be hookshot locked, but since we have that already, that's not going to be an issue.
Wow, and Blackwax wasting no time getting past the defenders here in the lower stages of the Ice Palace. Both lines actually getting shattered. I'm not sure who they're going to sub in at this point. Tried to do a nifty spin move to get behind that defender, but an absolute solid wall of flames.
That's the goalie that they need to get for their team. Ooh, getting the small key there is actually a godsend. Lets you go back up here to check the 3 items over on the right side first. That way you can just drop down to the iced tea and then bomb jump over to the big chest in the freezer room. Makes routing a whole heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, and if you already have to do this entire dungeon in the intended order, that's a way nicer feeling than any normal situation, just for how much that saves you, as you mentioned. So yeah, Scruff, I think you hit the nail on the head on that one. Well, more Thieves Town for Marty here, heading into the basement with 4 hearts to work with. Plenty of heart opportunities to heal in the basement. We just gotta not take a whole lot of damage on the way there. We don't have a powder or anything else to work with, but there would be an anti-fairy if we somehow did. Or a bunny beam? Yeah, a bunny beam.
Trying to think of a witty name for that, actually. I'm syncing up too much with Marty right now. Like, all the crap he's gone through is seeping through the phases of time. Like, we're 10 minutes ahead of him, or behind him. So, all that negativity that he's, like, not showing in game is flowing into the commentators right now, and I'm just absorbing it like a sponge.
Well, I gotta say, you know, big shoutouts and props to Marty here for not even bothering to open the Maiden Cell chest, knowing logically that you can't have that small key on blind, therefore you don't even have to worry about the big chest at all. So Marty making a great heads-up choice there, and if he continues to do so, those are small little bits of time that have been bleeding out of Blackwax's routing. That could actually result in some time save to try and get a little bit back more into this race.
It looks like he's got a good setup for the script currently. It's a little bit of a hit, but is able to recover quite nicely.
Yeah, the important thing is that we just didn't end up having, you know, blind cross the room. Still in a very dangerous position.
Oof. Getting hit backwards into that one little shot is just a pain in the butt. For him, quite literally. Oof.
This is really brutal.
Poor Marty. Oh, man. He's had to dip out of every dungeon so far just to make sure he can get some survivability. Honestly, this is actually going to work in his favor because all the items on the bosses are not progression so far. The only one that was absolutely necessary at this point was the Moon Pearl off of the Armos Knights, which just happened to be the green pendant.
The one big concern I have here is just how many boss clears he's going to have late in this race. As you mentioned, you know, I mean, he's not going to lose out on anything of critical value, but he's already made attempts at the boss, which could end up being the most painful thing about this. So, quick dig for 10 arrows for Marty. Blackwax finding, it looks like the Quake Medallion, actually, in Ice Palace.
Good old Quack Medallion.
Well, that'll be enough to take on Cold Stare, the goalie of Ice Palace. The Cold Stares themselves, the premier team of the league to beat. Do I get to say like they're all from like Sweden or Russia?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
More medallions on screen. Marty picking up the ether. Want to take a moment to shout out our tracker today, Irritable Penguin, who actually got to share comms with recently, yesterday. Thank you for keeping us on point for our information. This broadcast would not be nearly as easy to present information to the audience without it, so big shout outs and big thanks.
Oh yeah, definitely shout outs to the wonderful tracker. I do a lot of tracking myself, and I can tell you it's really finicky sometimes with that mechanism that we use. So, kudos to him.
Alrighty, time for Marty to finally acquire the first tempered sword of the game. 53 minutes in, we've known about this for at least another 20. Blackwax not having the opportunity to pick up that other sword just yet. A little bit more health for Marty as well. Probably not going to be too happy about having not had an opportunity to pick this up, or not having chosen to pick this up earlier, but he couldn't have known.
Alright, and it looks like he's going to go ahead and make the decision to pop over to Pyramid, most likely do Catfish, and then head over to Pod next. Not a bad idea, since we've got at least 7 items total in this little avenue. Hopefully getting him some armor or some more health. That would definitely be beneficial.
Yeah, because I mean, Marty hasn't been doing that that rough. It's just been that low percent. Something that really speaks to, you know, how well Blackwax has been playing this race. Because, you know, with half a heart right there, jumping into the health refill room before Cold Stare, really going by a razor's edge this entire race, putting him, in my opinion, in kind of elite tier competitive quality. I mean, this is decisions that would beat people who have probably longer histories on SRL than either of these two.
Now this is an interesting part for Blackwax right now. He either needs to get full health so he can get his sword beams back, or he needs to pick up one more green pot refill. The reason... Oh wait, he's got his red potion, he should be good with this. There's a nifty trick that you can use, that if you go ahead and fire off your fire rod shot, then hit with a sword beam move, it'll go ahead and actually count 2 fire shots with 1 blow, so you can save a whole lot of magic that way. Unfortunately, I don't think Blackwax actually knows that trick, so we won't be seeing it from his side.
I almost thought for a second there he was attempting that, but yeah, as you mentioned it, he has an opportunity to head back and get a refill for the fairies again if he wants to, and will nope out of Ice Palace because of this. This is a really rough break for Blackwax, something that Marty really needed in this race to, you know, keep in contention, because even though you can Ice Palace bomb jump later, it might be a while before Blackwax gets another bottle, gets bombos, has a comfortable reason to be going back in there.
And if Ice Palace ends up having the next line of progression for us, that could be a big move.
Well, speaking of big moves, this is something I did not expect to see so early on, I guess, within the chain that we have been watching. Marty actually into Palace of Darkness right now, a pendant pod. If we were to find a mirror here, this could be an opportunity to redeem some routing from... Or no, actually, never mind. We actually did go back to Eastern. He had to get the Moon Pearl there. Well, hopefully finding something here to help him out, as he needs really every opportunity to pull ahead of Blackwax here that he can get.
Well, with that heart container, that's going to go ahead and give him a bit more health, putting him at 10 hearts altogether. That is going to make things a little bit easier when it comes to fighting bosses, so he's got a bit more, basically solid ground to stand on.
Yeah, I would say that Marty's equip has improved dramatically in the last, 5 to 10 minutes. Well then. Okay, so while that's normally not the most significant find Bombos at this point, that could be a required medallion for either of the 2 crystal dungeons that require medallions, or it could be the reason that Marty could be in Ice Palace once instead of Blackwax going twice. He did find that green potion here in the mountain that we talked about earlier that Marty had found. But whether or not Blackwax decides to head back there anytime soon, it seems unlikely to me. However, that will be Blackwax's tempered sword here in the Spectacle Rock Cave, and I cannot think of a single reason he'd skip it.
Yeah, with Tempered Sword, that just makes everything easier, especially since he skipped, unknowingly, Silvers out of the back half of Skull Woods. This is going to help make a lot of these boss fights so much better.
Yeah, the silvers skip, obviously he didn't know they were silvers, but skipping that second item in Skull Woods, I definitely understand that decision. And as it turns out, it was actually only a marginal time save to get those silvers, as most of the time save, or at least a big chunk of the time save you'd have anyway, is wiped away just going to get that item.
The true time save is going to be overall fighting Vidi, Ganon, and if they need to, Helmasaur.
Yeah, those are kind of your best case scenarios to get value out of them. But speaking of Helmasaur and Palace of Darkness, Marty here going the distance, going to try and full clear this dungeon. I presume at this point, if he's going to spend all this time here, he's probably going to kill Helmasaur.
That would be a good assumption. 2 of the 3 pendant dungeons are going to be down. I doubt he's going to go ahead and go into Swamp, especially since he doesn't have the mirror or the flippers. But if he ends up getting them before the cane or the flute, he may.
Well, it isn't a cane, but a cape for Marty. Information that he doesn't really want or need. That is his first invincibility item, though, so he may actually put that to use.
Now, I don't believe anyone's actually checked the bumper ledge yet, so that may still be something important.
Yeah, you're right. We went to, ooh, there's our flippers here in Paradox Cave. That's our first look at them, so that does give us some components of the water checks that we've already made. Unfortunately, those water checks being pretty much useless altogether. We'll also get a Death Warp out of Marty here.
That does, however, put our trip into Ice Palace within logic, so that Quake is within logic, and assuming there was some form of progression on Cold Stare, that would also be readily available.
Beyond that, though, a lot of these elements kind of drying up here. We could still go to Turtle Rock, which Blackwax is in the neighborhood of. We won't be able to actually do anything in there until we find that Cane of Samaria, as you mentioned, but we can technically open it logically, whether or not we have the required pendant or medallion for either of these two. Hera and Ether on the menu for Blackwax here, as Marty's going all the way to Helmasaur King.
And what do we get dropped down from the heavens? More bombs.
Certainly not the food of the gods.
Nope.
Or maybe it is. I mean, we've seen so many bomb berries or clusters in the sea. Maybe that is ambrosia.
Now I kind of want to make ambrosia with blueberries. I want to see how that tastes.
I have to presume great. Almost as great as finding a flute here in Tower of Hera. Blackwax really kind of getting the best of all worlds. I guess both worlds, Hyrule and Dark World.
That is going to be so much better for routing, and it's going to be so much safer for Marty when he finds his way up here. That will push him more towards the mire area and away from dealing with Swamp.
And now that I think about it, it's potentially a situation where Mirror could be like in GT or something like that.
Oh, that would be excellent. Boots and mirror. Oof. I mean, bad for routing choices, but good for these poor folks not having to go into unwanted dungeons.
Yeah, so it could be a bit of a wild setup and a wild scenario. We'll get to see a Helmasaur King fight here from Marty, who has to watch out a little bit for these fireballs, giving him a lot of trouble here in the first phase, getting hit, I believe, twice from those. So as long as he's careful to navigate around that, should be able to land a silver arrow in the last phase here. Nicely done.
Kind of sweating it a little bit there, but yep, he clinched it. Oh, I was gonna say, don't you leave that pin behind, buddy. It is too early in the game to assume that is not necessary.
Which, out of all the things that it could be at this point, a mirror is definitely not one of them. It could be an ice rod, or even a cane of Samaria? Yeah.
Yep. Could be Ice Rod or Cane, one of our 2 Turtle Rock required items.
Or, of course, any of the fetch chains that lead to them.
Or it could just be a single rupee. Who knows?
Yeah, so that's definitely the reason why Marty's making sure to pick up that pendant that is definitely not going to on its own give us an item. That's yet another crystal here for Blackwax, as both of their runners are on the mountain now. Starting to wonder if Blackwax is going to go open up the Turtle Rock entrance, or if he's heading straight to Dark Death Mountain for Hookshot Cave, etc.
I'd say this would be a good opportunity to go ahead and open up Turtle Rock, but at the same time, without that mirror, it's just kind of hard to kind of route everything in, knowing you don't got the boots, so you gotta take Spiral Cave the long route.
Yeah, and that's great to remember that you have Spiral Cave within this sequence, as this could be very easily forgotten by a lot of people. We've seen it actually several times in the last week, where Spiral Cave ended up burning people. So Blackwax making the most of his mountain trip, it looks like.
And funny enough, bombs are everywhere.
Yeah, there have seriously been no shortage. Tier 1 tree poles, chests galore. Yeah, I don't think I've seen less than... I mean, we actually saw a bomb expansion bought from Blackwax while he was over picking up those fairies on the way into Ice Palace. So in hindsight, maybe it would have been better off if he had drank the potion and caught one. It's the sunken cost fallacy. You spend 150 rupees when you have, like, a bajillion. I'm the same exact way.
I'd be the silly one to go ahead and just waste it when I've got like half a heart of damage.
Yeah, so just as a bit of an update for those of you who are maybe strolling into this race a little bit late, so far it's been a tale of completely two different tapes. Blackwax and Marty making an early divergence. Ooh, wow, that's an ice rod. Black and a mirror.
Oh my! Alright, well that takes care of one of the items off a pod. Or pad.
Yeah, so, okay, so just the cane of Samaria really needed at this point. But to update everybody who's strolling in late, this has been kind of a sequence of events that have worked out very well for Blackwax with some very difficult execution. Just kind of nailed it, making it look easier than it really is. And a whole lot of deaths so far from Marty on bosses. That's been really the biggest issue with this race for Marty so far, because both of their routing has worked out pretty well, all things considered. But with such low percent fights in the early part of the race, Blackwax has truly pulled ahead because of that.
Gotta give kudos to Marty for being able to maintain the will to succeed, because yeah, getting that many deaths would definitely crush my spirit, so kudos to him.
Well, and the other aspect of it too, we highlighted earlier, was that Marty has been playing the Ambrosia mode considerably better in terms of like what Ambrosia means for the settings compared to Blackwax. Blackwax is pretty much full cleared every single location in dungeons, not remembering that there's an item on every boss. And at this point, it's become pretty clear that that's what's going on here. As like some of the Hera checks, some of the Thieves Town checks, Desert. Well, actually, he did Desert correctly. But those are all opportunities Marty's had here to, kind of gain a little bit of time back, which is good. Also, it looks like Blackwax has a chat bot for a timer. I'm sorry, a spam bot.
I gotta think of something witty for that. I'll let you know when I think of it.
Alright, well there's a half magic that we saw from Blackwax here at the Moldorm fight, Marty having finished it. getting back on the board with a second crystal. Still 2 behind, but until we find that cane, this could still be up in the air. It might seem like, this is heavily tilted for Blackwax's favor, but, he hasn't found it yet. Alrighty, Spiral Cave for Marty here, making sure to clear out all of the Dark Death or the Light World Death Mountain as we saw from Blackwax. So he'll also get everything else available to him in the Hookshot Cave. So no stones left unturned over in this realm of the 2 worlds. So that's not going to confer any particular advantage to Marty, but with that flute, we'll probably be heading in the exact same route that we see Blackwax doing now, to activate and then probably check Mire area.
Definitely a good idea to go ahead and get as much as you can possibly out of the way, especially since we're still looking for a few more items. Marty still needing that ice rod and that mirror, which he's about to find, but also needs that cane too, so he's going to check every single bit that he can.
Alrighty, here comes the Turtle Rock entrance from Marty. We'll be finding out that he is bailed out with that ether. Still not going to be able to do much, but the knowledge that you can open this is definitely a good feeling. And we'll find that ice rod shortly thereafter. Will probably be 2 very short-ordered sighs of relief.
Yeah, unfortunately for both these guys, they didn't find the cane just underneath the mountain here. So that will be a required double dip in most cases, unless they decide to go ahead and put the cane not in the mire area, which may still happen. We still got a lot of the overworld left to go ahead and check.
Yeah, speaking of which, Blackwax taking that newly acquired mirror to the smith to do the hammer pegs and then immediately turn in the blacksmith. So we'll be doing this entire chain with that flute in tow, the chest to follow. And I imagine gonna go check Bombo's tablet?
That would definitely be a good bit of routing. There are some times where you kind of have to orphan that area, but being able to go ahead and get all in one go is just so satisfying.
Well, I gotta think if you're in Blackwax's shoes, this is a swamp play to follow, right?
Oh, most definitely. It's not one that you want to do because it's painted swamp, but, it's something that you gotta do if the seed is telling you to do it.
Yeah, so we'll get to see what the mire area is like. If it ends up being Bombos to get in, then it'll be swamp instead. Although I think if he can get in, Blackwax will probably go and do all of mire right away. Until, he finds out that he doesn't have that cane.
Yeah, that's kind of the troublesome thing when it comes to certain dungeons in the Ambrosia style series, is that, honestly, going through stuff like Eastern and Misery Mire, you kind of don't want to, unless you already have the item necessary to finish it, because it's a very low chance that you're going to find that item in that dungeon.
Now, of course, we have the benefit of being armchair randomizers, I don't know, rando commentators. We can see all of the things that have happened so far. We know that those chances are increasing with every check. But right now, it probably doesn't feel that appealing yet to either of these runners to try and do something like that.
Exactly. And that is why I love commentating more so than racing.
A valid opinion to have, in my opinion. So Blackwax going to take the time to dig up a piece of heart here. Doesn't actually pick it up, even though he only has 10 hearts to work with in green mail. Perhaps not worth the time at this point. That wouldn't have healed him anyway, but it would have set him up for his next one to be a heal. So maybe that reflects Blackwax feeling pretty comfortable with his item loadout at this point in the race. I mean, I'd say it's a sign of confidence if you don't bother to pick up health when you're in this, particular setup. Still has 3 crystals to get at 1 hour and 13 minutes. Oh no, Blackwax, you were a little too close, but will actually still be able to get into the portal. For a moment there, I thought he had soft locked.
Oh boy. That's never a fun thing to have happen.
Something about don't stand too close to me or something like that. I don't know. There's some song reference to be made here.
You know, if Ganon says that, I'm just gonna laugh so freaking hard.
Yeah, that is one of his, par-baked messages, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, remains to be seen, but perhaps Gary is connected to the conspiracy here in Hyrule.
He's been a worker of Ganon all along.
He's in the desert. Could be the one Gerudo born per generation. Perhaps Ganon's been hiding in plain sight this entire time, and that chest that we bring to him isn't a bottle so much as it is, whatever it is that's sealed him in the pyramid.
And it was ether that we saw on the Misery Mire medallion, so that one from Stumpy is paying off.
Yeah, and just that one medallion required for both dungeons. Good news for Blackwax. Probably not the best news for Marty.
Here we go. Gonna go ahead and check out our wonderful checkerboard cave, hoping that we find the cane here instead of having to dip into Caneless Mire or Pendant Swamp. But we'll see which one is going to give us our dividends. That's not this one.
It wasn't a cab, more of a cache cave. Blackwax looking for more excuses to not be jumping into the dungeon requiring the items and not having them. So he will actually make his way over to Palace of Darkness, which we found came up relatively empty, sans the Bombos, I believe. Time for a revenge fight against Mothula. Marty this time having Tempered Sword, half magic, lots of extra magic on top of that. And I don't know, this is probably a considerably better fight. If Mothula had stopped being such a wallflower.
I hate when that happens. It's like, get out of that corner!
An interesting green pendant check here from Blackwax, taking advantage of a mirror portal right outside of Palace of Darkness. Good routing.
Looks like Marty is going to go ahead and save some time since Blackwax is also going to go ahead and do pod. So if that turns out to not be necessary, that's going to put him at even footing. Ooh, we are going to go ahead and get a ped check, so this is going to let us know for sure. Will Swamp be necessary?
Yeah, it's cane or bust here for Marty.
Oof.
Oh, hoping for something a little better than change. We'll need some sort of change in order to pull it back into this race.
So yeah, at this point we've either got our wonderful Ice Palace boss giving us the cane, or it's more than likely going to be in Swamp.
Marty be depleting his B count here and picking up blue counts instead. 2 full blue potions. That sounds like Ice Palace to me. But actually, we'll end up heading towards, looks like Thieves Town to wrap that up first, maybe even the Smith Chain.
Yeah, I definitely say that going Ice Palace before Swamp would be a better play, especially since it's crystal progression. But at the same time, I'm kind of wondering, does Marty think he's too far behind? Does he feel that he needs to make a gamble to catch up?
To be honest, I thought we had seen some evidence of that earlier in the race. Although I would say that Marty probably has leveled off a bit, seeing some more consistent gameplay through the second half of this race. And honestly, if Blackwax ends up depleting everything in the world, including Pendant Dungeons, like let's just say he goes into Swamp and it's on, Cold Stare, we could see a swing here. It seemed far-fetched maybe 30 minutes ago, but Marty's really composed himself.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this turns out.
Straight to the blind fight. Marty as sword beam is going to make this a lot more consistent. Should probably stand a little further away if you're going to use sword beams, though. Alrighty, well, definitely in a good position to get the third phase. Has to watch out for the heads more than the lasers by far.
Thankfully, that fire sword or shield is going to help out some.
And that is another crystal for Marty, slowly chugging his way through this, getting back into the race. That will actually put him on parity with Blackwax overall, so heading straight into Ice Palace might be enough. What a crazy, wild turn of events that this is kind of started to become within the realm of, close together again.
Definitely has been a roller coaster of emotions, that's for sure.
I think it really speaks to Marty's temerity to come back to these bosses before, dumping really all of his time into some of these other dungeons, making sure that this ambrosia seed doesn't, come back to bite him. Because of these settings, Marty has every incentive to make sure those bosses are cleared before treading new ground.
Definitely a wise idea in this setting. You don't want to be last locationing everything, finishing with a 2-hour seed.
Alrighty, Ice Palace time. If the Cold Stare has what we need, then technically Marty would be ahead right now.
Just comes down to that one gamble. Is it going to be one of the 6 checks in Swamp, or is it going to be the final one in Ice Palace?
Well, that would make Blackwax the odds-on favorite if he heads there next, but Marty holding on for a hope here. Has all of the potions he could possibly hope for to handle this in one go, so I'm anticipating this is a one-trip mice.
Yeah, I doubt that Marty's going to have too much of an issue. I know that he's been doing a lot of work recently with the Ice Palace bomb jump, so that won't be giving him a problem. Having 2 of those blue potions out, half magic and tempered, I doubt he's going to have any trouble whatsoever in this dungeon, but...
Honestly, I think the worst thing that he's going to have to deal with is the fact that you can't do ice physics with boots in this scenario. That's the worst part about this dungeon right now.
You're right. Good lord.
Well, this could be the one thing, maybe not a Missing Bow, but certainly the one thing that Marty needs to give Missing Bow its first win. And, a sorely needed one after coming up empty in week 1. This could be the opportunity for Marty to pull them back into relevance. That looks like a one-attempt bomb jump, a big time save over Blackwax's trip here in Ice Palace.
Very, very nice Ice Palace bomb jump right there.
We're getting to see some more fringe checks here from Blackwax, having left the Palace of Darkness area, heading to the Pyramid, and I'd have to presume Catfish immediately after. That'll also give us a chance to check the Graveyard Ledge, and yeah, we haven't seen that yet. Alright, well, an hour and 22 minutes into this race, it has been quite a wild course of events. I think these two have definitely earned our support as watchers. So folks, if you haven't had an opportunity to check out these two on their own individual Twitch channels, I highly encourage you to give them a follow, go check out what they're up to when they're not currently in this race. As I think with the interview we'll have after and everything else that we've seen so far today, these two are really exciting to watch.
Oh, most definitely. I know Marty a bit personally, and he is an awesome dude, not only to hang out with, but super fun to watch. So if you're ever bored or just want to go ahead and enjoy some free time, go ahead and give him a follow, watch some of his stuff.
Alrighty, the Catfish, the angriest submerged salty dog of the sea. will have something for us. What may it be? Ooh, just 20 rupees.
Well, at least it's better than the other fish who was just giving out blueberries.
Yeah, so, all of the water checks have been a pain today. Maybe that's part of the reason that Blackwax is avoiding swamp so much.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Now, one thing that I'm going to find interesting, and yes, he is going to go for it, since he's got that mirror, he's going to go and check out Graveyard Ledge. That is still one of the few locations that we have over on the overworld that could have the cane. Aside from Bumper Ledge and... Actually, I think that's about it. We've seen everything else.
Yeah, critical moment of truth here for Blackwax. Just 4 pots and a bombable wall between him and the knowledge that he's got a lot more to do, or is pretty much in the goest of modes.
So we're down to the last few seconds. Will this be Blackwax's win? Ooh. Oh, wrong color. Wrong color game. Jeez.
The ultimate debate.
I mean, it makes sense. Luigi is the secondary color of the games. Cane of Berna is the secondary cane. It's Luigi's Cane of Samaria.
Luigi always forgotten. Goodness gracious. So, beyond a shadow of a doubt, unless the two of us has somehow missed something in the overworld or in the world in general that isn't boots locked. Well, maybe Bumper Cave. Have we seen that?
Yep. No, this is the last overworld check. So this has got to be it. Come on, we've already found one cane of disappointment. Let's not make it two. Ah!
Swamp Palace has arcane, as far as we can tell.
Unless it happens to be on Cold Stare. So yeah, it's either going to be this boss or in Swamp. And if it's Swamp, I hope Marty takes that initiative and bulldozes straight to it.
Which, all things considered, Marty not that far away from having the opportunity to do that. This may just become neck and neck real quick here, as Blackwax is going to take the time to get a health refill and whatever potions he can stuff his pockets with. Oh, and of course there are the there's a possibility of just one single item in Misery Mire being the cane, as it cannot possibly be on Vidya itself.
No, you behave yourself. Do not put that kind of hurt on these poor unsuspecting runners. They don't deserve that.
Sweating for Marty right now. He has 3 hearts. I'm amazed he didn't use a potion there, because direct contact with one of those cold stares would have been forward for death. So that's going to be just a coin for him. 20 rupees, but Blackwax is going to head towards cold stare now. So yeah, Marty pulls ahead here.
Now this is going to be the moment of truth, though. Can he keep this lead by going to the right dungeon?
Yeah, because at this point, it's got to be either Misery Mire or Swamp. He hasn't checked everything in the overworld, though. So Marty has lots of reasons to potentially, give this lead right back up.
Now, he didn't check Waterfall Fairy yet, so he's going to go ahead and do that first. But when he takes out his flute, that'll be the deciding factor. If he goes to 4, then he's going Swamp. If he goes to 6, we're going to Mire. And that's a 1 to 6. And those are some darn good... It's a big gamble.
And when you're just about 90 minutes into the seed, I think you, in his shoes, consider the 1. So Marty, yeah, definitely going to check everything that he can. I think he's already done all this, though. Or maybe not. Yeah, so there are a few more items that he can check here in the Misery Mire area, but whether or not he goes into the dungeon remains to be seen. But that would be 1 item versus the 6 of Swamp. Well, here's Blackwax's attempt at Ice Palace Bomb Jump again. Now, I can relate with him here because I actually struggle to do this jump as Luigi. It's a sprite that it doesn't line up the same way at the top of the sprite. But Blackwax pulls it off. It's something that I need to practice more myself. I think the regular Link sprite's easy because you can kind of line up the top of his head with the shadow of the door.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that's actually a little bit easier, if you guys ever want to try to practice this and don't have it down to a science yet, that very top position when you're working on the x-axis, if you go ahead and charge a spin slash, start walking off the edge, let go your spin slash, and then walk back to the right, that will make it so that way you are currently at the furthest left pixel you can be while staying put and not falling off. That way it's much easier to set up for the y-axis after and then just bomb right over.
Yeah, the game really doesn't want you to be able to release a sword spin unless you're on solid ground, so that's kind of the basic of the mechanic there. But really big news, Marty here, gonna go try and find that Cane of Samaria in its vanilla home.
Now, the good news here is if we luck out and end up finding an item in one of the first few chests, that's going to instantly put him right back out, and that'll save him a whole bunch of time. The worst case scenario, honestly, would be to have something that's not the cane be something like in the cutscene chest, or in the big chest. Something that you have to get that's darn near at the last of the chain.
This is so exciting. I mean, like, there's so many ways that this could still turn out to be like a neck and neck finish at the very end of the race. Or it could end up being a total blowout if, Marty ends up spanning the entire world trying to find the Cane of Samaria instead of, like, say, hitting Swamp next. I think Swamp makes sense as a next logical play, but there's so many other things.
Oh, yeah. And no one wants to dip into the pendant dungeons. Since Marty already read Ped, he knows that he doesn't need to actually turn it in, but Black doesn't. Oof, and we got a Godmire. That's good in a sense. When he actually is in go mode, that's going to be perfect for him. But if Blackwax finds the cane outside of Mire, then that's going to be much quicker for him.
Yeah, that does represent a pretty hefty time save for somebody walking in with the cane. That's a great point. Alright, heading on over towards the cutscene. Chess gonna actually hit the switch to grab this item here on the webbed gratings, if you want to call it that. And Blackwax taking the time to go over to Hobo, which he did not actually do earlier. And where to next for Blackwax? This really feels like he's done about everything. Oh, you know what? He could end up heading back towards Skull Woods. That is one thing he left behind.
Ooh, that's true. Oh, it looks like he's going to take the swamp play, so this really... Okay, this is it. If Kane is in Mire, then Marty's got it. If Kane's in Swamp, it's Blackwax's race to lose.
Yeah, and while something like, say, GT routing could still make an impact at this point, the important takeaway here being that... Oh, geez, Marty, careful. The important takeaway being that it's basically a dungeon advantage or half dungeon advantage for whoever finds it first. I am so nervous for Marty right now. He is just not at all concerned about his health.
Truth be told, I wouldn't care much in this situation, because being that close to the last two checks, it'd be like, okay, that's just a quick death warp. Now, it'd be bad if he actually does die beforehand, because that's just more wasted time, so he's gotta be careful.
Alright, Marty has two more locations that he can potentially find the one item that's accessible to us right now. Opting to damage boost. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, please be careful, Marty. Please. Don't die. Oh, thank God.
And it is a heart container.
Okay, that's not too bad, the fact that it was there, but he needs to book it. He needs to go to Swamp now.
Critical juncture of the race. Marty here, fluting to the potion shop to get a heal, fluting from there too.
Go to 4, man. Go to 4. Come on. I know you're 10 minutes in the past, but go to 4, go to 4, go to 4.
Make like a golfer and go 4. Oh!
Yes! Alright, good. He's only going to be about a minute behind Blackwax. And even though Blackwax does have a little bit of a lead, Marty has the weapon advantage with those silvers, and he already has the big key from Meyer. Yes, it's a God Meyer, so it's going to be real quick for Blackwax, but that's going to help it to be so much better.
Oh, and Marty's already done, all of the explorations, so I mean, say Blackwax does some weird stuff and Meyer tries, routing a little differently, maybe. I don't think it's likely, but Marty does just have to run straight to the boss room, I mean, it's not like he's got to do anything extra in there.
Oh, most definitely.
So yeah, silvers plus potential GT routing, we have a race. I mean, this is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, there are things that can swing it both ways, even in this dungeon, whether or not you choose the left side first, as Blackwax has not found that Cane of Samaria yet, and knows there's an item on Argus.
Since we've gotten 2 items up front, it would be definitely a wise thing to go straight back. Unfortunately, you kind of need that small key first, so.
More critical time that Marty needs in order to get back into this is they're both in the same dungeon, same crystal count, vastly different item collection count. I would say at least 10 to 15 difference. But Marty hanging in there. Truly the story of this race, just how much Marty's endured for the 4 deaths that we've seen that were bosses. Really fighting hard to stay in this.
Oh, most definitely. And I really cannot stress how important it is to go ahead and follow these guys. They are definitely deserving of follow. And if you're getting excited with stuff like this is pretty much on the norm for these guys. This is almost all the races that they go through. So please be sure to give them a follow.
Yeah, and as Scruff just mentioned, this is just the start of the league. This is week 2. Ambrosia is a relatively benign setting in the grand scheme of things. Next week, we've got Randomizer. Week 4, it's a mystery week. 5 and 6 are co-op weeks, I believe. We got a spoiler pilot and a co-op info share.
5 is a cross keys, actually. 6 is the spoiler log, and 7 is the co-op.
So the madness, continues. Cross keys is going to be an even crazier week. So,
yeah.
While this may have been pretty easy to navigate in terms of logic compared to those, these 2 have been put through their paces today, and a big shout-outs to them for putting this on this big stage.
Now, as far as the rest of the items go in Swamp here, we did see the big key, and I believe one other dungeon item. I think it was either the map or the compass. So that does leave at least 2 items, a combination on the left side and the big chest. So if it's not on Argus, it is going to be left side, and if Marty goes there first, which he is, okay, this is going to be down the wire. This is going to make or break it.
I have never watched an Argus fight more intensely.
Also, word to the wise, when you hit that switch, you can go down south.
Alright, Blackwax getting a missed fire rod shot, but with some spins, managed to pull it out. The item is the cane!
Ooh. Alright, and with that, Blackwax is in go mode at just a hair under 1 hour and 37 minutes in. Marty is going to lose some time here by doing the left side swamp first, so he's got to book it.
Yeah, grand scheme of things, still lots of GT ahead of us. We still have to do Turtle Rock as well, and Misery Mire. So while this does give Blackwax a great jump start ahead, there's still opportunity for Marty to execute better in some of these dungeons that are remaining. Doesn't have to worry about Mire execution much, but Turtle Rock, maybe the Ambrosia knowledge could pay off for Marty in a potential lava bridge skip. If something like that happens, more time going to his favor, and we've seen throughout this race that Marty's done a really great job of remembering game mode.
Most definitely. The other thing that's also going to help Marty save some time is, even though Blackwax has the cape and the tempered sword, that's still about 20 seconds longer of a Vidi fight than it is with Silvers, and that's if you execute perfectly. With those Silvers, Marty is going to be able to go ahead and take care of Vidi and his little eyeballs uber quick.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a high skill cap requirement to do a good damage boost tempered Vitreous fight in Zero Cycle, but it is considerably more likely to get it regardless of skill level when you have Silvers. I agree. So an extra cycle would be at least a few seconds that Blackwax might be giving up for not having found those Silvers earlier. Gets his Godmire down to 4 hearts remaining. Has an opportunity to use a potion if he'd like, opting to just jump all the way. We'll probably try to avoid using it, but the thing is with Green Mail, these Wizrobes are very lethal enemies. They do 4 hearts of damage when you collide with them.
Yeah, he's got to be uber careful, especially when he's fighting those eyeballs. He's got half magic and he's got cape, so that really shouldn't be a problem. But one false move and you're done.
Dropping a Cane of Samaria block, Blackwax on his way to Vitreous. Marty here going to get the big key. We'll see if he ends up trying to run back to that chest. He shouldn't, since we know that it's going to be the item on the boss either way.
So yeah, good news there. He is not going back for it.
Going further, Marty not that far behind Blackwax, but Blackwax is already almost to the Vitreous fight. Critical juncture for Blackwax. Needs to not die to this fight in order to keep this lead. Because it would be pretty much wiped away entirely if he were to take a death here.
I know I should be commentating more, but this is actually really exciting.
Yeah, this is kind of tense. I'm like trying not to lose my stuff, so to speak. Argus fight for Marty, getting real close hook shots here. It's going to be a really great way to shorten the time on the puffs. We're getting cape strats from Blackwax with slashes, so this is a considerably slower fight. Looking to be about a 2 cycle.
Very nice shot with the silver arrows on Argus. Marty finding his cane at 1:40:51, so 10 minutes behind. Or, sorry, not 10 minutes. That was what, 3 minutes?
About 3 minutes, yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, it wasn't 1:30, it was 1:37.
Or maybe 4. Yeah, it was 4 minutes. Alrighty, 6th crystal picked up for Blackwax as Marty, finishing up Swamp Palace, heading over to do the Vitreous fight himself. Effectively a dungeon behind, although thankfully not really going to spend that much time in there.
Nah, he's going to be able to get through there uber quick. He already has the big key. He knows exactly where to go here, so he's got it open. He's going to have to basically bulldoze right to Vidi, fire off those eyeballs, and then bam, he's good. As long as he doesn't slip up, he should be in and out at least within a minute and a half.
So, I think the big question that we haven't answered yet is this a big key guessing game today or a boots guessing game?
That's an excellent question.
Watch us never find them.
Oh god. I kind of hope for their sake and sanity they don't.
Alright, so here's what we'll do. When we do the actual guessing game for the big key, because we have a bot command for that, so we're going to do that actual thing correctly. Folks, when we get to that guess, also write the name of the location that you think you're going to find, that we're going to see the boots. That way we can do it separate and not mess with the actual game.
I'm going to go ahead and get a jump in on that boots guess and just say no, we will not need them.
Boots not required nor found. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that we got boots behind Ice Armos in the front chest of those three, and that's required for the torch.
That is evil.
Hey, anything else we can get to have a more exciting finish, as the intensity is ramping up here in this race. As Blackwax is entering Turtle Rock here, Marty is very quickly moving into the basement, ready to take on Vitreous here soon.
And making okay time so far.
Doesn't have a boots set up for the spooky action glitch. There's still some potentially weird setups I think you can do bootsless, but none that many people know about if you can even void a block. The main thing is just messing with which slot has the stored flute value, which might require some advanced knowledge that I don't think most runners have, let alone myself.
Yeah, I think the only other one that I know of, and I've never been able to do it, is the ice rod setup, but I couldn't tell you how it works.
Well, Marty about to put on a clinic of sorts here with the silver arrows. This is about to be an extremely quick fight, I think.
Yeah, don't blink, you'll miss it.
Good enough for a zero cycle, 2 silver arrows, and that is Vitreous down.
Pop-boom. Alright, so a 3-minute difference between Blackwax's Crystal Git and Marty's Crystal Git. Since Marty will save some time in Turtle Rock opening, that should save him at least 5 more seconds, so he's got to get up there super quick.
Yeah, this might be an example of, well, actually, no, Silver Arrow is probably not going to do much for him here in Turtle Rock, but Blackwax taking a death before getting the roller room items, which will require him to go back there anyway. He's not going to skip out on what could potentially be a big key.
So yeah, that's a good 20 seconds wasted right there.
And it's also one of those things that an hour and 45 minutes into the race can pretty easily tilt you. I can't speak necessarily to Blackwax's composure in this particular setting, but I know from experience having raced like this, those deaths hurt the most psychologically.
Yeah, having a lot of early deaths. Ooh, jeez, that's not good. He missed the torch too. That is really hurting him.
He's going to have to wait out these torches before trying to light them again. He might be able to do a loop here. Alright, this'll work.
There we go.
The one downside to doing this is that the screen scroll takes like 13 years.
Yeah, that screen scroll is not fun.
4 hearts. That would have been death.
Oh boy.
Gets his full magic refill, or full health refill, and will have a magic refill on re-entrance. But we'll opt to grab this full magic decanter instead, which does save a little bit of time.
And at this point, I'd say it's safe to assume that Marty's less than a minute behind. 1:46:15 is when Blackwax got out of that room, so we'll have to time it to see when Marty does.
Yeah, assuming everything is as we see it right now, I would say this is within the margin of the silver's difference. That, of course, presuming that Blackwax doesn't get, like, 3 triple Phase 4 Ganon, spins, which you could do, and that's a huge way to mitigate the time difference, but 40 seconds average, I would say.
And Marty's got the torches, no problem. Misses the instant hook. Is able to get the second time around.
Yep, plenty of health to work with. Neither of these two finding any armor upgrades this entire race. Marty gonna deboost through the first one. We'll use Cape for the second. Should be in good shape to continue forward. We'll actually get a health refill as well, interestingly enough. All right, Blackwax with no keys to speak of looks to be forced into the laser bridge check. I'm never good at the logic in this dungeon, so to be honest with you, I wouldn't really know if we'd be able to skip it anyway.
No, at this point, it's not best to skip it. With Ambrosia, you are guaranteed to have an item over on Trinex, but even though it's like a 4-point-something% chance of both the lava chest and the big chest having small keys, you never want to skip this one.
Well, Blackwax did it. Blackwax gonna skip that key, so we'll find out when we see the big chest in the crystal roller room whether or not we're gonna get bailed out by the next one.
Now, did he steal the key from the Hoku Poku?
Yeah, he stole the key.
Oh, okay, then he should be alright at this point, as long as... Oh, okay, yeah, he's skipping the big chest, that's the problem. If that big chest and the lava chest both have small keys, there's not going to be one here in either the Crystal Roller or on Laser Bridge. This is going to be nasty.
So he could be alright, it could be really awful. We'll find out shortly here. Looks like...
We're fine. He's got that second key in the Crystal Roller. He can avoid Laser Bridge altogether. If Marty does the exact same, then they are going to be neck and neck.
Now, remains to be seen if Marty will skip the big chest as well, but having skipped the the lava bridge, interesting aggressive routing choices from both of these two, probably feeling the consequences of how far behind you would feel in this scenario, with all of the deaths and all of the double dips between the two of them.
So yeah, this is still anyone's race. I mean, Blackwax still has a sizable lead, but realistically, that's a phase 4 Ganon. That's really it. The difference between 12 sword spins and 4 arrows is about 50 seconds, and that's the lead Blackwax has. So if Marty and Blackwax end up taking the same exact route as each other in GT, that's what it's going to come down to. This very well may be a tie.
And of course, feats of amazing execution can cut down some of the time difference or even extend it. For example, if Marty were to pull off one of those fabled 4 silver arrows, you'd save a little bit of extra time. But we kind of expect with these calculations, he's going to take 2 or 3 lantern lightings. Try next fight for Blackwax, a guaranteed item. Kind of hoping for like armor or something at this point.
That would be nice. For Blackwax's sake, I actually hope it's a butter sword, just so that way he can even up the fight a little bit. Realistically, tempered to butter is not a huge difference when it comes to most bosses, but it really does help in the Ganon fight. It makes that 12 spin slashes so much easier.
We got to see Blackwax do a very rare safety right side spin on Trinex here, trying to make sure that he would have an opportunity to refill his health. Didn't end up being super necessary, but I understand the caution, as his opponent, Marty, right now, walking into the Trinex fight. We have the same room right now, nearly 2 hours into the race. What an exciting way for this to move. So, there's a game we like to play, 2 games today, but the one that we want to find out right now is where in Ganon's Tower is that big key. 22 locations. Go ahead and get your guesses in chat, folks. Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna, did you already say where you're going to find the big key? I think we just talked about boots.
Yeah, just the boots. I always like going with number 13 with the big key. But since boots aren't going to be required, I'm going to say... Yeah, chest 13 for the big key, and we're actually going to find the boots in the Hope chest.
That would be exciting for both of these two. I think both of them want to spend as little time as possible searching. A little bit of crystal synchronicity going on here, as Marty lifts one up to the sky and Blackwax lifting 7 of them. We are neck and neck, and right now I would even give the edge to Marty pre-GT routing. It's amazing. Like, if Marty here doesn't get stopped at all by the Lionels, even more time saved. Oh, that's excellent.
Nice. Alright, blue male on the torch, so just kind of poking the bear there, saying, you're stuck on green male.
Yeah, so that confirms that our boots are not necessarily required at all in this seed. In fact, that was the one thing that could have required boots out of everything so far in this race. So we'll see if we find them at all at this point.
All right, so chest number 2 is the small key. 3 is 50 rupees. 4 coming up is 5 rupees. And 5, 10 arrows. Now we will be going with Blackwax's side since he was the first one to enter.
Oh, and Marty's gonna do the hope and then head left, which does put him a little behind in Blackwax in total routing of the dungeon, but keeps him within that margin of really having the silver's advantage mean something.
Now this will be fun if it ends up being Dark Magician strats. Ooh, because Blackwax is doing it. Oh boy. Alright, so if this is in Rando Room, Marty more than likely has got it, because I know Marty likes going full left. If this is Compass Room, Blackwax has got it.
Yeah, it would really take like a serious issue with GT, like the gauntlet, for that scenario to not lead in the Blackwax victory here today. So, left or right, what's going to end up being? This is really exciting. And Blackwax is going to check Tile Room.
Yeah, he's going on the big gamble here. Honestly, you don't want to gamble on Tile Room unless you believe you were so behind that it's like a make or break type of scenario. So, again, this is a 1 out of 22 chance. If this has got it, Blackwax is definitely going to take the lead.
I mean, whew. We've got to ask him about this in the interview. This is, it's not. I mean, the only right decision, the only right play is whatever gets you the items, right? It might not have been this in this seed, but you know, you can't fault him for trying to do something unconventional. You know, it could have been right.
No, not at all. I mean, especially you got to think for these runners. They're both at an hour and 54 minutes in. No dot done in SRL currently. They're both, for what they know, they're both in GT, still going to the same thing. They could be neck and neck. They are, but they don't know that. So they gotta think, okay, what's the best plan I've got? Go left, go right, go Tile Room. What's the gamble that's gonna win it?
And there it is.
Oh, hot dog. Alright, so Marty has got the big key. We are still going to use Blackwax's count for the key chest. Even though Marty got it first, we're going to go off of Blackwax's. So it's going to, unfortunately for him, be one of the last ones that he checks.
Well, with that, Marty takes, I believe, his first de facto lead of the race. Here in Ganon's Tower, an hour and 55 minutes into the race.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx him, knock on wood, but I think this is going to lead to Marty's win. He's going to have to either die halfway up the tower or fall and die again a couple of times for Blackwax to catch up at this point.
What an incredible turn of events. This is the last thing. If you told me an hour ago that we'd be in this situation, I would not have believed you for even a second.
Not at all. This is amazing. I gotta say, this is one of the most interesting races I've seen out of the league so far.
Well, bad news for Blackwax. Used to using boots to kind of navigate this section. Be kind of weird to slide around this statue. But will be able to pull it off to head on towards Ice Armos. Likely to finish Ice Armos with regular bow. More things that are pulling Marty further ahead in this race. Jeez, that feels like backwards to say from what the rest of this broadcast was like.
Right?
I'm just stunned right now.
I gotta say, though, just a quick tidbit to kind of help break the tension. That room back there that Blackwax was just in, you notice that that one set of tiles on the far left looks perfectly symmetrical? It's an E. It's a perfect E.
I hate to say it, but I'm not following the joke.
Oh, it's not a joke. I'm just being weird.
All right, I'm for that. I stand for that.
Now, Marty, thankfully, has got the powder. Definitely does not want to go into the rest of this tower climb without any hearts. Has the fire rod, has the arrows. I think he feels just more comfortable using fire rod for this fight, aside from the silver arrows, because yeah, not only are they a little bit laggy, but they're a pain to try and hit these dudes with. Does get an awesome double shot with that mold arm, or sorry, landmow.
Yeah, that's kind of rare to see. The splash damage does have an opportunity to continue to do damage, and it persists for a little bit. You just don't very often see situations where you can hit 2 Lamolus with it.
And the most satisfying rooms in the world. Perfect Wizrobe.
Oh my goodness. Are our boots in the big chest?
No, 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 no.
Okay, they
Probably.
might be, but I mean, we still have upstairs, but oh my goodness, that's filthy.
Oh, I hope Marty would have absolutely no reason to open these chests, but I hope he does, just so I can have my curiosity sated. I want the boots in the last chest. I want it to be in Moldorm's treasure. That'd be hilarious.
I mean, at this point, we're looking at a complete exhaustive check of everything in both worlds. I mean, I don't think we've left any stones unturned at this point. Is there any other location, Mimic Cave maybe, that we haven't looked at that hasn't been explored in the world? We know that it's here, but
Yeah, Mimic Cave. Mimic Cave and...
big chest of Turtle Rock.
Yep, big chest, Turtle Rock, lava chest, laser bridge. We didn't check laser bridge, so we are still missing our mushroom, another armor, our other sword, our other mirror.
Well, we did have one armor in right here that Blackwax just picked up, and the other one's on the torch, so we're good there. I'm just amazed at how much
Marty,
we've
please
checked.
heal. Please heal, Marty, please. Oh, the boots. Marty, please heal.
That's not the heal he's thinking of, man. You're thinking boots.
Heal.
Well, he's going to toe the line here and make his way to the Moldorm 2 fight. Marty, well equipped. Not stopping for anything at the last gas station before Ganon. And, oh boy.
And with that right there, unfortunately for Blackwax, he has found the big key at key number 21. So, looks like our current winner is Thunder Toast 1 for guessing key number 21. So, GG's.
Yeah, if you were holding out hope for Tile Room, well, you got jebaited today. So the real question is, do you think Marty remembers it all 2 hours into the... Oh, he does remember to use his boots, okay. Honestly, I would forget.
Oh, wait, hold up. Looks like Blackwax actually found the other armor set. Both of our pieces of armor were in GT. So, Marty found it as well. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, there was one in the firebar room, and then one on the torch.
Okay, so that makes... Oh, shoot. That means we full cleared GT. That means our other sword was somewhere either in Turtle Rock or Mimic Cave.
Yeah, so this is going to be an incredibly high item count for both of these runners, and a 2+ hour seed, you expect that.
There we go. Agonometry is done. Marty is on his way to fight the big pig, has about a 3-minute lead. Again, knock on wood, nothing bad happens, but this is going to be Marty's win. He's got silvers, he's got tempered, he's got another blue potion, he's got blue mail, got 9 hearts. He's golden.
Golden in every respect except for the sword and the shield. Marty working with red equipments. Hopping into the Ganon fight, 2 hours, 1 minute, and 30 seconds. Incredible that we've swung so much in such a short window. Remember, we entered GT with Marty just barely behind Blackwax. Not going to see a 1 cycle for the first phase, but smart use of the cape allowing Marty to kind of safely get to phase 2 here. Safe, remembering to hold on to a little bit of magic. Marty does have potions at his disposal. I kind of wish he would just heal.
Yeah, he's got to be real careful.
Marty
half
set
magic.
up for his torch glitch.
Yeah, well, even if he misses it, he's got half magic and silvers. I think he's golden. Still sitting on the edge of my seat, though.
Here it is, phase 4. Fire bat out. Marty with a really weird Ganon position. Smart enough not to swing while he's standing next to him, but actually got a silverless hit on accident.
I love it when that happens. You never get it when you want it. You just get it when it's unintentional.
One more arrow, and this all Marty needs to pull behind to make an incredible victory.
There it goes. Now, just don't walk off the bridge, Marty. I know you've done it before. Just don't walk off that bridge.
Folks, get your GGs in chat. Marty crossing over the finish line in first place with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 26 seconds. GG.
GG's to Marty. And we're going to see if we can go ahead and get him in here for an interview. Because, whoo boy, that was just so exciting. I can't say it. I'm speechless.
Stunned. That's the only word I've got for it.
Yep. Now, nice thing.
We're waiting to see if Marty will join us. Want to take another moment to remind you folks, these two are people to watch. Go check them out on their channels. If you like what they're putting on for us today, give them a follow as well. And a big thanks to Irritable Penguin, our tracker today, keeping us on the up and up while we were kind of doing the easy job of watching Rando and talking about it, I think, at least compared to that. All right, I'm sorry, I had to cut you off.
Oh, it's okay. Just an odd thing that I was thinking of. It's not important because it's already lost my mind.
Fair enough. Apologies for that. Now, Blackwax is still finishing up the race here in Moldorm 2. Good opportunity for us to talk a little bit of business about the league stuff. If you are looking into trying to watch more of the Link to the Past Randomizer League, we have more races going on tonight. This was the 6-10 match that we just commentated and watched. We do have one currently ongoing on SpeedGaming main, Shireen versus Apathy Duck. Starting in about 5 to 10 minutes on the ALTTPR League, we'll have Frostbite 3030 versus Dawn Venier. SpeedGaming 2 on this channel following this race will be I Like Big Boots versus Swedish Rubbers, represented by Zero Rush and Oro. And 2 other matches on SG4, SG5. Half an hour later, the ALTTPR League 2. It's going on. Lots of rando ahead.
Yeah, still just chatting away to see if I can get Marty in for an interview here. Yeah, since we've got so little time between now and the next race, we may need to go ahead and cut it a wee bit short.
Yeah, we'll give it another minute or two at the most for Marty to jump in here if you'd like to. But if he doesn't have the opportunity to, I'd like to thank everybody on his behalf for tuning in for this race. Quite the exciting experience that we've had today. I'm really grateful we had an opportunity to commentate this.
Oh, most definitely. That was a fantastic race. Here we go, and we are welcomed by Marty. GG's, Marty.
Hey, what's up? I can't believe I actually won that.
My sentiment exactly. I just gotta say, I'm glad, super glad that you decided not to tilt and quit after like the 4th death and the 4th redip.
Yeah, the beginning of the game was pretty rough.
But was there any point in which you were like, okay, I've definitely galaxy brained this portion, I might have a chance?
No, not at all. Actually, I didn't even have Dark World access for over half an hour, I think, maybe. And I felt really, really behind, especially when I started Dark World and just kept dying. I dipped out of Skull Woods, dipped out of Thieves Town, and I was just like, well, I don't know, maybe I'll find something somewhere else.
So the second item that you found in Skull Woods there, the silvers, I think that may have actually helped kind of aid in the win, aside from a couple other factors, because poor Blackwax did not find those. He skipped it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I was happy to find them, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna go do Mothula with 4 or 5 hearts and Green Mal. There's no way. And yeah, I just kept going after.
Definitely GG's on this one. I gotta say, it's great that you were able to go ahead and secure the first one for your team.
Yeah, it's our first one, actually. I think our next team race is Saturday, and Tala is gonna play. I don't know who she's playing, but yeah, it's nice to have some points on the board.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might be missing a bow, but you're definitely not missing any points at this point.
Yeah, I think bow was like one of the first things I got too. I was pretty surprised. But that cane, I mean, I know I didn't do Smith Chain. I was aware of that, and there might have been a couple other locations too that I could have checked. But then I was like, Swamp. Like, it's got to be in Swamp. Like, it's always in Swamp.
Yeah, funny enough, we had 2 pendant bosses that actually had progression on it. Moon Pearl on Armos and Kane on Argus.
Yeah, and I totally went into pod thinking it was a crystal, and then I realized, oh, damn, pendant. So I just cleared it anyways, because, I don't know, I tend to find stuff in pendant pod all the time.
Well, I gotta say, your perseverance here really is the real story of this victory. We, for the longest time, thought that the boss deaths that were in the early part of the run were going to be it. But all the way to GT, fighting and clawing back, this is a truly exciting and privileging race to have an experience to watch. And I think you're going to really enjoy this watch back, even though the first part might feel a little painful.
Yeah, it definitely will. Like, oh my god, I was almost smashing my head on my desk when I was dying died at Landmola's, then died again in Eastern, and died a couple of times somewhere else.
Let's see, you died in Eastern, you died on Landmo, you died in Skull Woods, you died in Thieves Town.
Yeah, just dying everywhere.
I think it would have been easy to tell you where you didn't die.
Yeah, oh well. It is what it is. I mean, I knew I was pretty low on hearts. I didn't have any mail. I did have Master Sword, which was nice, but yeah.
That's not bad. Well, again, GG's, that was phenomenal. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so we're going to have to go ahead and wrap this up. So, everyone, go ahead and give a good GG in chat for Blackwax. He is still taking the time to head back up to Ganon, but we'll just have to go over to his channel and enjoy that while we get the next match set up here. Any last words for the wonderful viewing public here?
No, thank you to all the staff and everybody that puts a lot of effort behind that. I myself, even as part of the mod crew and the restream crews, we do a lot of work. It's really nice to have people watching these matches and contributing to everything, so keep it up, everybody.
Yeah, you gave us a lot of things to consider, and really, really enjoyable race to be a part of. So, echoing those sentiments, as was already mentioned by Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna, we do have another race coming on very shortly after. A big thanks and GG to Blackwax for putting on this race with us. We got to head out. But stay tuned, folks. Another race starting very shortly.
So once again, thanks for joining us, everyone. And yes, Marty, you may now poop. Good night, everyone.
GG's.